From working on a small farm in Texas to becoming an aerial predator who took down over 50 enemy planes, Lance C. Wade was a legend, a true embodiment of bravery, sacrifice, and heroism, a force of nature. But as the dust settled on World War II's battlefields, a chilling question emerged. Who exactly was Lance C. Wade? He was an American, yet no official record acknowledged him. No ace compendium bore his name. It was as if he had vanished from history, leaving behind only whispers of his incredible feats. Join us on this thrilling episode as we uncover the mystery of the World War II legend who no one knew. War hero, Lance Wade, early life and exploits. Lance Cleo Wade, the celebrated hero of World War II, was born on November 18, 1915, in Broadus, a small town in East Texas. He grew up in a modest farming family during the harsh years of the Great Depression. Life was tough in rural Texas, so Wade was accustomed to hard work from a young age. He spent his childhood working on the family farm, often rising before dawn to tend to the fields. Despite the daily grind, Wade was captivated by the skies. Whenever a plane flew overhead, he would pause his work, gaze up, and tell anyone who would listen, "Someday, I will fly." This dream of flight became a driving force in his life, leading him far from the fields of Texas and into the annals of World War II history. As the 1930s ended and the world edged closer to war, Wade pursued his passion for aviation. He managed to earn his pilot's license, logging about 80 hours of flight time. With this limited experience, he set his sights on joining the U.S. Army Air Corps. However, his dreams were temporarily dashed when he was rejected due to his lack of formal education. Determined not to let this setback stop him, the young, resolute man looked elsewhere for opportunities to fly and fight. With Europe already embroiled in conflict, the Royal Air Force, RAF in Britain, desperately sought pilots, and Wade saw this as his chance. He fabricated a resume, claiming he had learned to fly at 16 after he and some friends purchased a plane and were taught by a World War I veteran. He even went as far as inventing a story about his father being a World War I ace. This fictional backstory and his undeniable passion for aviation convinced the RAF to accept him into their ranks in December 1940. However, there was one final twist. When Wade enlisted, he was registered only as L.C. Wade, just his initials. The British, accustomed to full names, insisted on a complete identity. Thus, Lance Cleo Wade was born. Wade's journey from Texas farm boy to RAF fighter pilot was remarkable. After completing his training at No. 52 Operational Training Unit, he was posted to North Africa, where the fierce battles of World War II were raging. With its scorching heat and endless stretches of sand, the Libyan desert would become the stage for some of Wade's most extraordinary feats. It was here, in the skies over North Africa, that Wade would earn his reputation as one of the most formidable pilots of the war. In November 1941, Wade joined No. 33 Squadron, part of the RAF's Desert Air Force. The unit was heavily involved in Operation Crusader, a major Allied offensive aimed at relieving the siege of Tobruk and driving the Axis forces out of North Africa. The Regia Aeronautica dominated the skies above the desert, that is, the Italian Air Force and the Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, both seasoned and battle-hardened. The first real test for Wade came on November 22, 1941, when a formation of 9 Junkers Ju-88 bombers, escorted by Messerschmitt Bf 109 fighters, launched a surprise attack on Allied airfields. As the sirens wailed, he and his fellow pilots scrambled to their Hawker Hurricanes. The ensuing dogfight was fierce, with Wade and his squadron managing to shoot down 2 Ju-88s and severely damage a third. But the battle was far from over. Just as the dust began to settle, reports came in of another wave of enemy bombers approaching. This time, Italian Savoia Marchetti SM-79s. With little time to spare, they took to the skies once more. Wade's Hurricane tore through the enemy formation in the chaos that followed. His relentless attacks brought down one SM-79, while his wingman claimed another. 2 days later, on November 24, 1941, the unsung hero would further cement his status as an ace. The day began with urgent orders to intercept another incoming wave of enemy aircraft. Wade's Hurricane dove into the fray, his guns blazing. Within minutes, he had downed an SM-79 bomber and a nimble Fiat CR-42 biplane. By the end of the day, he had achieved ace status, having destroyed 5 enemy aircraft in just 1 week. His nickname, Wildcat Wade, was well-earned, as his aggressive flying style and lethal accuracy made him a force to be reckoned with in the skies over North Africa. But in truth, Wade's greatest test was yet to come. Just days after becoming an ace, Wade and No. 33 Squadron were tasked with a dangerous mission to strike at the heart of an Axis stronghold in Ajdabiya. As they approached their target, the sky erupted with anti-aircraft fire. Undeterred, Wade pressed on, his sights set on an SM-79 bomber. He unleashed a hail of bullets, and the bomber exploded into flames. However, the victory came at a cost, as Wade's Hurricane was struck by debris from the destroyed aircraft, causing it to shudder violently. Smoke began to pour from the damaged plane, and Wade found himself in a desperate struggle to maintain control. For 20 agonizing miles, he fought to keep his crippled aircraft aloft as the unforgiving desert rushed up to meet him. Finally, with no other options, he managed to crash-land his Hurricane in the sands below. Lance Wade was not alone in his harrowing desert ordeal. His comrade, Sergeant Wooler, demonstrated remarkable bravery and camaraderie in attempting to rescue him. Wooler's Hurricane managed to touch down near Wade's crash site, but the unforgiving desert terrain caused his plane to crash as well. The two men, among Britain's finest pilots, found themselves stranded in an endless desert with no water or provisions. However, the Desert Air Force had protocols for such emergencies, and soon, the two marooned airmen were located and airdropped essential supplies. Though food and water were crucial for their survival, the most challenging part of their ordeal was the grueling trek back to friendly lines. Upon their return, Wade and Wooler were inducted into the exclusive Late Arrivals Club, a recognition for airmen who survived being downed in hostile territory. This honor was symbolized by a special patch that now adorned their flight suits. During Wade's first tour of duty, from September 1941 to September 1942, the Desert Air Force faced significant challenges due to the limitations of their aging Hurricanes. Despite the aircraft's shortcomings, Wade's victory count continued to climb, a testament to his extraordinary skill and determination. He also assumed an unofficial role as the deputy commander of No. 33 Squadron, earning the respect of his fellow pilots. Wade's final week of his first tour was marked by intense aerial combat. In September 1942, a large dogfight erupted between Hurricanes from No. 33 and 213 Squadrons and Me-109s from IJG-27 and TWI-JG-27, which were escorting Junkers Ju-87 Stukas on a dive-bombing mission. The Hurricanes were bolstered by 2 new Spitfire squadrons, No. 146 and 610. Wade shot down a Ju-87 in the ensuing battle, adding to his growing tally. 5 days later, he faced off against a highly skilled Italian pilot flying a Machi MC-202. The encounter left Wade's Hurricane damaged, the first time in over a year of combat that an enemy pilot had managed to hit his aircraft. Wade conceded that his opponent was exceptionally skilled, a rare acknowledgement from the ace. As his tour ended, he returned home for a well-deserved rest, with his victory count at 15 confirmed kills. By this time, Lance Wade's exploits had made headlines in the United States. American newspapers eagerly reported on the Texan RAF pilot who had become a high-scoring ace and even had the honor of meeting the British royal family. Upon his arrival in New York, Wade held a press conference at Rockefeller Center and was featured in the October 14, 1942 issue of the New York Times. Final mission. After his brief respite, Wade returned to North Africa to command No. 145 Squadron, equipped with the superior Spitfire Mark VBS. By January 1943, Wade had been awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross and a bar, further solidifying his reputation as one of the RAF's most accomplished pilots. His new squadron was diverse, with pilots hailing from various nations, including Britain, New Zealand, Argentina, Trinidad, Canada, South Africa, and Australia. Under Wade's leadership, the No. 145 Squadron became an exceptionally effective combat unit. By March 1943, the squadron accounted for 1/3 of all enemy aircraft destroyed by RAF units in the Mediterranean theater. As the air war shifted and enemy planes became scarcer, Wade continued to demonstrate his prowess, personally downing 4 Me-109 aircraft and earning a second bar to his Distinguished Flying Cross. In September 1943, No. 145 Squadron supported the Allied invasion of Italy, and Wade saw some of the most intense aerial combat of his career. On November 3, 1943, while patrolling the front lines with his wingman, he encountered a swarm of WW190 aircraft from Thai SG-4. Wade and his wingman bravely charged into the fight, despite the overwhelming odds and a lack of backup. In a fierce dogfight, Wade's cannon fire brought down one FW-190 and damaged 2 others before he managed to escape. Although officially credited with 3 damaged enemies, the fate of Sergeant Georg Walls, confirmed later by the SG-4, revealed that Wade had indeed downed an FW-190 near Termoli. As his second tour concluded, Air Vice Marshal Harry Broadhurst recognized Wade as the most successful commander of No. 145 in both World Wars. Wade's career and personal life seemed upward, and he was even engaged to a young British woman. However, tragedy struck on January 12, 1944. After visiting his old squadron at Foggia, Italy, Wade's Oster light bomber crashed on takeoff, killing him instantly. One of his friends, convinced that the plane had been sabotaged, visited the family to share his suspicions. However, the exact cause of the crash remains a mystery, with key Royal Air Force records still classified. Shortly after his death, Wade was posthumously awarded the Distinguished Service Order. Lance Wade was laid to rest near his boyhood home in Reclaw, Texas. Over time, the once famous war hero faded from public memory. Flying for Britain left few records of his exploits in the United States, and he became known as the forgotten ace of World War II. Yet, his legacy continues as a testament to the courage and determination of those who fought in the skies during one of history's most challenging conflicts. Like Lance Wade, others are today known as World War heroes, but unlike him, they are well known. Audie Murphy, America's most decorated soldier. Audie Leon Murphy, born on June 20, 1925, in Kingston, Texas, a small rural town where life was marked by hardship and poverty, was the 7th of 12 children born to Emmett Barry Murphy and Josie Bell Killian. Speaking of hardship, his father abandoned the family when Audie was still a young boy, leaving his mother to raise the children in dire financial straits. By the time Murphy was 16, his mother had passed away, leaving him to care for his younger siblings. You can say that the harsh realities of the Great Depression shaped Murphy's early life. He dropped out of school in the 5th grade to work as a farm laborer and help support his family. His upbringing in such tough conditions forged a resilient spirit, a trait that would later become a defining characteristic in his military career. In the wake of the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941, Murphy, like many young men of his generation, was eager to join the fight against the Axis powers. Despite being underage and underweight, he repeatedly attempted to enlist. The Marine Corps and the Navy rejected him because he was just 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighed 110 pounds. Eventually, on June 30, 1942, the U.S. Army accepted him, and he was sent to Camp Walters, Texas, for basic training. During his training, Murphy exhibited exceptional shooting skills, which was not surprising because he had honed the skill during his childhood hunting for food. He quickly earned a reputation as a sharpshooter, but his slight frame and boyish appearance made many doubt his suitability for combat. Nevertheless, his tenacity and determination earned him a place in the 15th Regiment of the 3rd Infantry Division. Murphy's first combat experience came in July 1943 during the Allied invasion of Sicily. His performance in battle quickly dispelled any doubts about his capabilities. Despite being inexperienced and far from home, he demonstrated extraordinary courage and a natural aptitude for combat. His unit encountered fierce resistance from the German and Italian forces, but his steady nerves and quick thinking in the heat of battle helped to lead his men through the dangerous terrain of Sicily. Yes, he led. During the Italian campaign, Murphy began to distinguish himself as an exceptional soldier. His courage under fire and ability to stay calm in the face of overwhelming odds earned him his first of many commendations, the Bronze Star Medal, with V device for valor. His actions in Italy set the stage for a legendary military career. Murphy's most significant and renowned actions occurred in France following the D-Day landings. The 3rd Infantry Division landed in southern France as part of Operation Dragoon on August 1944. During this campaign, the brave soldier's acts of valor would cement his place as one of America's greatest war heroes. Audie Murphy's platoon was ordered to capture a heavily defended hill on September 15, 1944, near the French town of Lomet. Despite heavy enemy fire, he led his men in a daring assault, personally destroying several German machine gun nests and taking out an entire squad of German soldiers. His relentless attack allowed his unit to capture and hold the position against repeated German counterattacks. For this action, he was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross, the second highest military award for valor. Murphy's most famous act of heroism was on January 26, 1945, near the village of Holtzwihr in the Alsace region of France. By this time, he had been promoted to second lieutenant and was leading Company B, which had been reduced to just 19 men due to the fierce fighting. They faced an overwhelming German force of 250 infantry supported by 6 tanks. As the Germans launched their attack, Murphy ordered his men to retreat to the cover of nearby woods, while he remained behind to direct artillery fire on the advancing enemy. When the artillery ran out of shells, he executed a shocking act of bravery, climbing onto a burning M10 tank destroyer, which was still loaded with ammunition, and began firing its .50 caliber machine gun at the oncoming German soldiers. For nearly an hour, Murphy held off the German assault despite being exposed to intense enemy fire. His actions allowed his men to regroup and counterattack, driving the Germans back and securing the position. Alvin York, extraordinary feats during the Meuse-Argonne offensive. Alvin Cullum York was born on December 13, 1887, in a small log cabin in Pall Mall, Tennessee, a remote area in the Cumberland Mountains. His parents, William Uriah York and Mary Elizabeth Brooks, were hardworking farmers who struggled to provide for their large family. Despite their financial difficulties, they instilled strong moral values and a sense of responsibility in their children, profoundly shaping Alvin's character. Growing up in the rural backwoods of Tennessee, Alvin York's early life can be said to have been deeply connected to the land and had a strong work ethic. From a young age, he was expected to contribute to the family's livelihood. So he spent his childhood working on the family farm, hunting game in the nearby woods, and learning the skills that would later prove crucial during his military service. The York family relied heavily on hunting and farming to survive, and young Alvin quickly became an expert marksman, a skill that earned him a reputation as one of the best shots in the area. Despite his responsibilities at home, York's early education was limited. He attended a one-room schoolhouse, but his formal schooling ended after the 3rd grade. Working and supporting his family became more important than academic pursuits. This did not mean that the lack of formal education hindered his intelligence or his ability to understand the world around him. York was known for his practical knowledge, common sense, and innate problem-solving ability. York's life took a significant turn in 1914 when he experienced a profound religious conversion. Influenced by his mother's prayers and the teachings of the Church of Christ in Christian Union, a pacifist denomination, he abandoned his reckless ways and devoted himself to his faith. This transformation was dramatic. He quit drinking, swore off fighting, and became a deeply committed Christian. York's newfound faith emphasized the teachings of the Bible, particularly the commandment, "Thou shalt not kill," which would later lead to his internal struggle with the idea of going to war. By the time the United States entered World War I in 1917, York was a respected member of his community, known for his integrity, work ethic, and piety. However, his strong religious convictions made him deeply conflicted about the war. When he received his draft notice, he initially sought an exemption as a conscientious objector, citing his religious beliefs. His request was denied despite his pleas, and he was drafted into the U.S. Army on November 1917. The Meuse-Argonne Offensive, part of the final Allied push towards the end of World War I, was a massive and complex operation aimed at breaking through the German defenses along the Western Front. The offensive began on September 26, 1918, and involved over 1 million American soldiers, making it one of the largest operations involving American forces during the war. The combat area was dense with forest and heavily fortified positions, creating a challenging environment for attacking forces. The American 82nd Infantry Division, to which Alvin York was assigned, faced particularly fierce resistance in the Argonne Forest region. By early October 1918, the 82nd Division was heavily fighting to capture key positions from the Germans. York's unit, Company G of the 328th Infantry Regiment, was part of a larger effort to advance through the Argonne Forest and capture a series of German-held positions. On October 8th, the infantry regiment was tasked with attacking and neutralizing a heavily defended German machine gun nest that was impeding the progress of Allied forces. The position was critical to the success of the American advance, and the dense forest terrain and fortified enemy positions complicated the task. As Company G advanced towards the German positions, they encountered intense machine gun fire. The German defenses included multiple machine gun nests, which were strategically placed to create a killing zone. The heavy fire resulted in significant casualties among York's platoon, and the advance was stalled. He was only a corporal then, and found himself in a dire situation. His platoon had suffered heavy losses, and many of his comrades were either killed or wounded. Despite the overwhelming odds, York made a bold decision to take action. In the face of overwhelming odds, he seized the initiative to neutralize the German machine gun nests that threatened the advance of his unit. Armed with a rifle and a revolver, he advanced through the unfriendly terrain, using it as cover. His extraordinary marksmanship enabled him to strike down enemy soldiers from a distance, even as he endured intense gunfire. York's strategy combined aggression with precision. He used his rifle to target the German soldiers operating the machine guns, while his revolver dealt with those who ventured too close. His actions, marked by sharpshooting and tactical maneuvering, allowed him to outwit and dismantle enemy defenses effectively. Amidst the chaos of battle, York captured an impressive number of German soldiers. Throughout the engagement, he took 132 prisoners. His ability to control and lead these captives back to American lines was a remarkable feat of leadership and bravery. Even after sustaining a leg wound, York's resolve remained unshaken. He continued to fight with unyielding determination, ensuring that the enemy positions were fully secured. His steadfastness minimized further casualties among his comrades and facilitated the American forces' ongoing advance. York's actions on October 8, 1918, greatly impacted the battle's outcome. By neutralizing the German machine gun positions and capturing many enemy soldiers, his bravery played a crucial role in breaking the German defensive line. His success contributed to the overall American victory in the Meuse-Argonne offensive. The immediate aftermath of York's actions was the consolidation of the American position and the continued advance of Allied forces. His bravery and tactical skill were widely recognized, and there's no question that his actions were instrumental in achieving one of the final major victories of World War I. Alvin York's heroism was officially recognized with numerous awards and decorations. The Medal of Honor, awarded to him by President Woodrow Wilson in 1919, was the highest accolade for valor and highlighted York's extraordinary courage. He also received the Distinguished Service Cross, the French Croix de Guerre, and the Italian Silver Medal of Military Valor for his actions. It can be said that York's actions and legacy greatly influenced the soldiers of World War I and World War II. He was a true hero that was celebrated throughout the nation. Jack Churchill, the eccentric warrior of World War II. Widely known as Jack Churchill, the battle-crazed soldier had quite several names. He was John Malcolm Thorpe Fleming Churchill. Born on September 16, 1906 in Hong Kong, he was the son of a British Army officer. For this reason, frequent relocations marked his early life, as his father's military career required the family to move across various British territories. So, to some extent, it can be said that this exposure to different cultures and military environments contributed to Churchill's adventurous spirit and his unconventional approach to warfare. He had his formal education at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, where he trained as an officer. Although he chose not to pursue a traditional military career immediately, his education and upbringing caused him to have a deep respect for military traditions and a sense of adventure. After Sandhurst, Churchill embarked on a varied career, including roles as a school teacher, journalist, and even a professional footballer. His athleticism and flair for the dramatic would later become defining traits of his military service in his later years. With the outbreak of World War II in 1939, Churchill felt compelled to join the fight. He enlisted in the British Army and was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Royal Scots. Known for his distinctive appearance and unconventional methods, Churchill soon earned a reputation as an eccentric warrior. Ever heard the saying, "A soldier who goes to battle without his sword is not properly dressed"? Churchill took that saying to a new level. He went to war with an actual sword. Yes, he wielded a sword during World War II. Churchill's military service began with his involvement in various commando operations. He stood out in the British Army because of his ability to blend traditional British military ethos with a flamboyant and unorthodox style. Jack Churchill's approach to warfare was characterized by his use of unconventional weapons and tactics. As mentioned earlier, he carried a Scottish broadsword into battle, a weapon he used with remarkable skill. His preference for traditional weaponry and charismatic persona earned him the nickname Mad Jack. He also carried a longbow, which he used to launch arrows at enemy positions. Quite unconventional. One of his most notable contributions was his use of the bagpipes. As an accomplished piper, he would often play the bagpipes to boost the morale of his troops and intimidate the enemy. His distinctive presence on the battlefield, combined with his unconventional tactics, made him a memorable and inspiring figure in the war. Operation Archery, conducted on December 27, 1941, was one of Churchill's most significant operations. The commando raid on the German-occupied Norwegian island of Vågsøy aimed to disrupt German supply lines and infrastructure. The eccentric warrior led a team of commandos equipped with traditional weapons, including his broadsword. Despite the challenges posed by the harsh winter conditions and heavily fortified German defenses, the raid was a success. Churchill's bravery and leadership were instrumental in the operation's success, which inflicted considerable damage on the German forces and infrastructure. In August 1944, Churchill participated in raids on the French Channel Islands, the only British territories occupied by German forces during the war. His efforts did not go unnoticed, and it contributed to the eventual liberation of the islands and the disruption of German control in the region. During the Italian campaign in April 1945, Churchill led a daring night raid on a German position near the Po River. Despite being heavily outnumbered, together with his unit, he managed to capture several German soldiers and seize critical supplies. Looking at the big picture, the success of this raid played a role in the overall Allied advance through Italy. After World War II, Jack Churchill became a celebrated figure due to his unconventional approach to warfare and impressive combat record. He continued to live an adventurous life, including working as a stuntman and appearing in several films. Churchill retired from the British Army in 1959 with the rank of lieutenant colonel. He spent his later years in relative obscurity, occasionally sharing stories of his wartime experiences with enthusiasts and historians. Despite his unconventional methods, his bravery and contributions to the war effort were widely respected. His eccentric persona and unique approach to combat have made him a memorable and intriguing figure in military history, and he's known to this day. The eccentric warrior died on March 8, 1996, at 89. He may have passed, but his acts of heroism remain known today. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.